gender man in a forthcoming film. And when a writer tried to defend Johansson, she paid for it too. Johansson's now backing out of a trans role after outcry from LGBT activists. They complained she was stealing work from actual trans actors. Johansson had slim public support for keeping the role, but a writer for Business Insider argued that actors specialize in make-believe and ought to be allowed to take any jobs they like. Daniela Greenbaum says now she's resigned from her blog after several people within the organization complained to the editor, who responded by scrubbing the ScarJo post from the site and instituting a new policy of requiring culturally sensitive work to be reviewed. With all that in mind, remember Robert Downey Jr.'s blackface role in Tropic Thunder? A white man playing a black actor generated no backlash for Downey, according to a 2008 Reuters report. All right, time now for Night Court. We are looking into a case involving the national gym chain Planet Fitness. A group called Liberty Counsel says its client is a woman, only known as Mrs. H, confronted a transgender person in the locker room of a Planet Fitness gym in Leesburg, Florida. Mrs. H says she went into the locker room and saw a person she thought was a man named Jordan Ivy Rice. Says she politely asked him to leave. Instead, she claims he smirked back at her and stared at her in a makeup while saying he was applying, or she was applying, a makeup. But it was Rice who called 911 to report sexual harassment against Mrs. H.
What's going on?
I was just sexually harassed. What's her name, ma'am? Ma'am, the police team doesn't know your name. Alright, well, she just left the gym. She's white. I can try to see what car she's getting in. Okay, hold on. I still have her in my sights. I'm going to see if she makes the turn anywhere.
All right, Liberty Counsel claims Planet Fitness came down on the side of Jordan Ivy Rice and revoked Mrs. H's membership. She wants it back now, and she also wants a change to the gym company's locker room policies to allow access to the appropriate biological sex only. It's a lot to unpack there. Well, tonight's Legal Eagles, Robert Patillo is a civil rights attorney and radio host in Atlanta, and David Gibbs is the president and general counsel of the National Center for Life. Gentlemen, welcome on this very interesting case tonight. Great to have you.
Honored to be here.
Thanks, Shannon.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. Planet Fitness has had a similar issue that happened in Michigan a few years back. There was a woman who sued there. Initially, it was thrown out. The Michigan State Supreme Court now says the lower court has to take another look at it. There's not a lawsuit yet in this case, but there is a hint that there could be one to come. Liberty Counsel, in its letter to Planet Fitness, says that she was kicked out under this thing called the lunk policy, which is if somebody's acting up, they're not allowed to stay in the gym. The letter says, only after 3 offenses of, quote, grunting, dropping weights, showcasing, or judging, which those are the things that'll get you kicked out, may staff terminate a membership for, quote, lunk-like behavior. Planet Fitness Leesburg employees have failed to abide by this policy. Moreover, judging cannot include calling attention to behavior which is unlawful or which constitutes harassment on the basis of sex, which Mr. Rice's leering presence in the women's locker room was. Robert, that's how they spell out the claim. They say she got no warnings. She made a complaint about something she felt was a threat. She's gone.
So let's get this straight. Miss Rice is applying her makeup in the locker room. Miss H, who has not identified herself, comes up and harasses her, attempts to get her thrown out of the gym. And when Miss Rice calls the police, then she complains. This is a clear case of transphobia. This woman, Miss Rice, is simply minding her own business, putting on her makeup after working out. She has every right to be there. And the harassment on the part of Mrs. H is what got her thrown out, what got her membership revoked. Could Planet Fitness have revised their policy to say that any individual who harasses another person at the gym has the ability to have their membership revoked? Yes, and they probably should put that into their corporate guidelines. But the idea of Miss H being the victim when she initiated a contact with Miss Rice for no apparent reason, that's laughable at best. There is no lawsuit here.
All right. In its letter, Liberty Counsel claims that this individual, there was another woman who complained about this individual, saying that the person had exposed their naked body while in the women's locker room, and apparently anatomically it is still a male body. So then they also said that this person who said, leave me alone, I'm putting on my makeup, did not leave for an hour while this other woman waited to get to her locker, then came out dressed exactly the same and hadn't showered or changed clothes. David, what do you make of this? It's just a very uncomfortable situation all the way around.
Well, Shannon, absolutely it is. But I think you have to look at really 3 things. Number one, Planet Fitness has a consumer protection duty to disclose the policies. If they're going to let men, and this person is genetically a man, stand there and look at women in the changing rooms and the showers, look at little girls, they have a duty to let people know that before they take their money. Number two, they certainly have a duty to supervise what is going on in their facilities, whether it's male or female. I mean, for example, if someone were to break out a cell phone or try to start taking pictures or filming in these rooms, that would be completely inappropriate. And there's a duty to supervise and to maintain order and protection for everybody involved. But interestingly, in this case, we also have a woman with a religious viewpoint that it's inappropriate for her to be viewed by another man that she's not married to. And so instead of Planet Fitness going, okay, there are some reasonable accommodations. This is a conservative, traditional woman, a woman of faith. There are some things we can do. Instead of accommodating her religion, as the law requires, they chose to retaliate and almost punish a whistleblower by expelling her from membership. And I think this is honestly political correctness run amok, but the rights of this lady under the law have been severely violated.
Here is what Planet Fitness tells us. They say, we're committed to creating a non-intimidating, welcoming environment for all of our members, and their safety and privacy is our top concern. Under our gender identity non-discrimination policy, members and guests may use all gym facilities based on their sincere, self-reported gender identity. As this is pending litigation, we are unable to comment further. Robert, at this point, there isn't litigation. They're asking for some actions to be taken by July 6th. They want Mrs. H to get her membership back, and they also want some of these other accommodations. They want a policy in writing posted either in the membership contracts or on site saying, just so you know, this is our policy, so that people can be aware before they go in to a locker room setting.
But how exactly would that even be possible or be implemented? Are we going to tell people when you sign up for your gym membership, now drop trowel so I can see what you got down there to determine if you're biologically a man or biologically a woman? That doesn't make any sense. And this idea of somebody leering at you, well, if there are lesbians in the locker room who are looking at you, do they thereafter get expelled from Planet Fitness? The reason this policy of non-discrimination is in place is just to let everyone know that everybody has a welcoming place to come to. If this woman has sincerely held religious beliefs, which I understand completely, she has to know she inhabits a world where other people don't have the same belief system, that other people have different experiences, and she can't push her own beliefs and experiences on other people. The same way that she has the right to exercise her religious freedoms, Mrs. Rice has the right to exercise her gender identity the same way.
Yeah, I mean, David, where do we find this intersection of making sure that everybody is treated fairly, everybody's rights and privacy is protected in an intersection like this? I mean, I covered a number of these cases in school settings where they've tried to have accommodations where there will be separate areas for certain people. Then people argue separate but not equal. How do you find a resolution here?
Well, number one, we have to look to the law, Shannon, and we need to remember a religion, even under our Constitution or under Title VII, and certainly under public accommodation, is a protected right. Okay, a sexual gender choice that someone can change from day to day or self-identify is not. And so when we basically say we're going to let men, really any man that so chooses, to walk into the locker room and have access to viewing these ladies and violating their privacy, potentially even predators, clearly Planet Fitness can deal with these issues. And we're not asking for radical, certainly we're not looking to in any way violate the bodies or expose people, but we're looking for what is common sense, decency. There are accommodations. Facilities like Planet Fitness can have a separate one bathroom changing room for people that may feel uncomfortable. There's lots of potential accommodations. But if you're going to let men walk up and look at women and take their money and not disclose that, that's clearly a violation of what her reasonable expectations would be.
Well, her attorneys have given until July 26th so we can get some kind of response. We will track this case and see if it does end up in litigation. In the meantime, Robert and David, thank you both very much for weighing in on the case tonight. And folks at home, we want to know what you think. You're our jury. So let us know on Twitter at Shannon Bream or at Fox News Night. More news next.